Well, welcome everyone. We're happy to have you all here tonight. We have 6 very nice candidates for you. So we have 12 questions for the 6 candidates, and for this reason we would ask that you keep your answers concise and clear. Some questions, yes or no would suffice. Our timekeeper will call time after 1.5 minutes on each answer, and before that, what we would like to do is give you 1.5 minutes to give an introduction, a little bit about yourself, and we can start from the left to the right, or if any of you would prefer to go first, that would be welcome as well.
Well, that'd be great, because that's why they put me all the way down here. They thought they were getting away. You want me to start, don't you?
If you would like to, yes.
Folks, I don't know if I need a mic, but I'm going to use one. Just stand up here for just a second. My name's Mike Simpson, and it is a pleasure to be in Fayette County tonight. Mr. King kept telling me, so Mike, we're going to have a good time. And I hope that's the way everybody feels, because if you got 6 folks looking to represent one district, folks, you can't go wrong. You're going to get the right one. And but let me tell you a little bit about myself. Native of Hewittown, down in Jefferson County. My family's scattered out all over Fayette, Tuscaloosa, Jefferson, Bibb. Kind of originated in a little spot over in Walker County, right on the river there, a place called Big Ten. And so as we come up from a working family. I started out in life as thinking that I'd never really go to school, never would have to. And but I started out as a mechanic, worked my way up through, and found out that Plan A wasn't the way I was going, so Plan B come into effect. I opened up a business, started working in field maintenance, those kind of things. Worked at night to go to law school, and graduated law school, and I practice law now. And I kind of thank the Lord for the things He does in my life, because my old body's getting weaker as the years go on, and pulling them wrenches and laying under all that equipment is a situation that it's not real favorable sometimes this day and time. But folks, it is a pleasure to be here tonight. My wife Tammy's here with me, and as we gather here in this place this evening, I just thank the Lord for the opportunity to meet the people and to be considered to represent them.
My name is Floyd Rodgers Jr. I would like to acknowledge my wife, Ebony Rodgers. I am a citizen of Fayette. My name is Floyd Rodgers Jr. Everyone prefers to call me, I guess, JR, and I'm okay with that. I'm just an average citizen of Alabama. Again, test. Be cool, man. Test. Okay. My name is Floyd Rodgers Jr. again. Everyone prefers to call me JR, and I'm fine with that. And I'm just an average citizen of Alabama. I decided to run for State House because I truly believe that I've got a very diverse background. That also, along with having to go through many trials and tribulations that I've been through in my life, I truly believe that those things together has uniquely qualified me and basically prepared me for such a time as this. I am the ACE coordinator for the City of Fayette, Alabama Community of Excellence. A little nervous, y'all, excuse me, but I just decided to throw my hat in the race because I truly believe, and I know that the needs in the community are out there. And I'm always been a person who's had a heart for the community. One of the main things that I truly want to do is I want to establish boards and committees of the members of this community, and just allow us to work together and be able to come together and do what it is that God has called for us to do and that our state needs for us to do. See, I got 30 seconds left. I've got a 14-year-old Jason Smith. I got a 5-year-old Jackson Rogers. And I guess that's it. Thank y'all.
My name is Greg Lowery. I'm a native son here. I was born here 56 years ago. Dr. Brinyark says I was born up here in the Fayette County Hospital. And I've lived on the cattle farm out here for 3 generations. My dad's a 50-year pastor in Carbon Hill, just across the Fayette County line. My mother spent 22 years in education here. 25 years ago, I had the honor to be the campaign chairman for the last 3 terms. State representative for this seat. I've got 12 years of experience in this thing. Most of you in here tonight already know what I do for a living. I tour and I travel, have tour buses. I travel with some of the most famous people in the world, including President Trump and his men. One thing that really bothered me and got me stirred up a couple of years ago was China came in here and tried to buy our farmland, tried to buy my industrial board president's farmland over in Lamar County. And we went to work with our constituents and many others to ban or do something to ban China from buying our property. You know, all they want to do is spy on our military installations here. I'm happy to tell you that Stat Hagen wrote that bill and had a number of sponsors, and it has passed. China will not be buying property in Alabama. Friday night, when I had a small moment of time with President Trump at the Alabama GOP dinner, I asked him to take this Alabama ban and make it nationwide, and he looked me square in the eye and said, yes, we'll do that. And I want to tell you right now, if you'll send me down to Montgomery, I'm a fighter. All I need you guys to do is put another stone or 2 in my sling and let me sling it at this giant, because there's some things that are coming up that are on our doorstep. If they get away with putting Federal Reserve CBD currencies and removing our dollar, they're going to be monitoring every purchase that you make. And this is nothing short of the mark of the beast, in my opinion. You can read about this in the book of Daniel. We know that it's going to take place at some time, but the church of the living God will be gone when this happens. I got 30 seconds to tell you I'm running for state representative. I need your help. You want a fighter down there, I'll go down there and fight for you. Greg Lowery for state representative.
I'm Greg Fanin. I'm the only non-preacher up here on the stage. I attended Baptist Bible College, though, over at Sanford University. I studied with a man by the name of Albert Brewer, whom the community college there is named after. I spent 2 years with him almost shoulder to shoulder every day. He was one of my heroes, but I had a lot of heroes growing up. George Washington and all those men that I read about. I've printed these cards up. There are fans out there if you need one, because it's really hot in here to me. Y'all can read my bio, and I'll be available afterwards to answer any questions you have for me. I did 4 tours of Iraq, combat wounded on number 5. And I'm proud to be here tonight with each and every one of you. And I want to serve each and every one of you in the House. Thank you. God bless.
Well, good evening. My name is Brad Cox, running for House District 16, obviously, since I'm on stage tonight. But it is a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the Fayette County Republican Party for hosting this event. I am currently District 1 County Commissioner here in Fayette County and work at Alabama One Credit Union as a Business Development Officer. Spent 7.5 years here at Fayette County High School in the classroom as an ag teacher and FFA advisor. Proud to have my family, my wife Anna and my son Asher with me tonight. Look forward to answering some questions tonight. Not sure what you're going to ask us, but I think at the end of the day, these type of events are the most important thing we can do in a campaign. You can have great signs, you can have great cards, great social media, but at the end of the day, as a voter, I think you deserve to know where we're at on issues, so I'm looking forward to answering those questions. If your question doesn't get asked tonight, I'll be around as long as I need to be after the meeting. Look forward to meeting you. Would appreciate your support on September 26th. Look forward to serving you in the Alabama House. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brinyark. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is what it takes. This is the community we've got to have to make a difference and to make change and to make things better in Montgomery. This is a special election. It means it's the only thing on the ballot. We don't have anybody else running, no other matters on the ballot. So turnout is going to be probably extremely low. I'm encouraged by the number of you that chose to come out here on a night like this to
listen to us, tell you about us. I'm a lawyer. I'm from West Alabama, born in Tuscaloosa. Graduated from Central High School there in Tuscaloosa. Went to the University of Alabama. Graduated from the University of Alabama School of Law in '93. Been a lawyer for the last 30 years, practicing over here. Judge Junkin is here. I've had cases in front of him. I've had cases for years here in Fayette. I actually chose to move to Wyndham Springs in 1999. I wanted my kids to be able to go to school there at Northside. It's a fantastic school, fantastic community. And this whole district is a wonderful district. If you look at all the other districts in the state, you have a lot more diversity in their constituents. Our community, District 16, is very similar. You here in Fayette are the biggest town that we have, city that we have. And everybody here and throughout this whole district cares about family. We care about our schools. We care about the land. And we care about our faith. And that's wonderful, y'all. We've got very, very, very similar values throughout this whole entire community, this whole district. And I look forward to representing you in District 16. I think that I bring a skill set to this house, this membership, if I can get it. I've been a mediator for a number of years, and I work hard with people that are going through cases and in litigation, trying to come up with custom and creative ways to settle solutions, to settle their case, to solve their problem.
Tom?
Thank you. I get paid by the hours, lawyer.
He's right.
Well, with that, we can begin our questioning. What I would like to do with the questioning is we will begin at the left with Mr. Brinyark, and upon the beginning of the second question, we'll begin with Brad, and so on with the third one. So everyone's put on the spot at least once, and someone goes last at least once. So with that, we'll begin our questions. If you need me to repeat one, please just ask. During COVID, we had to follow the guidelines of the State Health Department. Will you support a law that forbids the State Health Department from minute directions during a pandemic?
Y'all, we saw such an abuse from our government. That was a test run, I think, of seeing how much they could go boo and make us run away. Government has a role, and they're there to protect us, and they're there to truly give us options. But I really don't believe that laws and that the government should make us do things. They should advise us. They should say, hey, you know what? There's this bad disease. There's this bad thing going through our community, going through the world. We think if you go do this, and this, it'll help you. And that should be where they leave it. They should say, businesses, if y'all want to take these measures, this might help. And then leave it up to the people. We need to have the freedom to make our own decisions. We need to have the freedom to raise our children the way we want to, and we should have the freedom to be able to handle our lives and our health the way that we want to. I hated to see our businesses shut down. I know that Trump was in the center of that. I think he was following everybody that he had in those positions to advise him, and I think all in all, he did everything he could do to try to help us, but I wish we'd have had other options for our whole country and for our community. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great question. I was a high school teacher at the time, Fayette County High School. We all gathered around the TV there and watched as the governor announced that all public schools in Alabama would be closed for the remainder of the year, and it was really a surreal feeling. We went months without going to work. Students went, better part of a year without instruction. Not to mention local businesses shut down, the economic ramifications of that we're still seeing. I am proud to say that a lot of places in Fayette County, anyway, that I went to refused to shut down and kept on going about business. But to answer the question, yes, I would support something to limit the power of the state health officer. It's egregious and it's overbearing. The government can only go so far, and I think the private citizen has a right to go where they want to do. I think the private business owner has a right to limit people or allow them to come into their business. I think it was a tragic event. Certainly a lot of people lost their lives, but I think we're still seeing ramifications from that with supply chain issues as well as our test scores, education, and other issues. So yes, I would support something to limit the power of the state health officer for quarantines, shutdowns, and the like.
I'll be super brief on that one. Yes. I believe, obviously, we all can agree that the federal government had too much overreach, and that the state government was following right along. So let's look at that in the future. Obviously, I hope and pray to God we never come up to it again, but if we do, the state health officer does have to be limited. And we do need to see our loved ones in the hospital, and we do need to see our loved ones in the nursing homes, because they need to see us. It is a part of humanity. God bless you.
Well, the answer is yes on that for sure. The data that we've seen, that we've had on the Reawaken America tour, we know exactly what COVID was, we know exactly what the shots were and what they were designed to do. But what everybody seemed to forget, that mandates are not a law. And we do need a law, but the mandates is not a law. That gave you the right to go ahead and do your business, go ahead and go to church, and go ahead and do what your day-to-day activity was. Mandates are not a law, but we do need a law to rein in some of this stuff that they're throwing out there, like these overreaching and what they're talking about in this kind of thing. So yes, absolutely, we pass a law to do that.
Of course, I don't believe in the government overstepping its boundaries when it comes to, I truly believe they were overstepping their boundaries and just pretty much forcing everyone to pretty much follow suit. You still have children that's still facing depression right now, adults that are still having mental issues, dealing with mental issues because of the lockdown. Businesses suffer greatly. So of course, yes, I would definitely support it. Thank you.
Yes, unequivocally. Our churches were shut down, our businesses were shut down, our families was almost shut down, but buddy, the family's strong, amen? And the family was going to be with each other, but there was places where they couldn't be. We have to support it. We have to limit the government's overreach, and this is why. Because those businesses that have been shut down, no one's went to check on them to see if their house payment is paid. Nobody's went to check to see if the mortgage is paid. Because there's a lot of businesses that shut down and never came back up. Churches was told you couldn't gather. Those folks went home for a year. Some of them did. And this ain't something I'm making up. This is something I know about. And those churches didn't come back for whatever the reason is. But we thought it was best. Well, when we think something is best, that's fine. But when you start and you make the mandate that somebody has to follow this order. I'll give you for instance, a young nurse, 2 years in a nursing program, in a school not far from here. In that program, they say that you are going to have to take this vaccine or you're going to have to drop out of the nursing program. I'm thankful that I was able to be there to guide and tell and show that there is no way that you can do, they can make you to do this if you don't want to do it. Now there's a lot of people that just went and done it because they were told to do it. But let me tell you what built this country. What built this country is people thinking for themselves. What built this country is people that stand on those principles. And if we have to say today, what would we do? We would support the legislation. We would enact the legislation. We would sponsor the legislation. That's my opinion, to limit the government from being able to take those things away.
Starting with Brad this time. In recent years, Alabama literacy rates have nosedived as our State Department of Education has adopted Common Core standards and the Literacy Act for elementary schools. Would you support legislation to replace Common Core standards?
Ty, thanks for the question. And I've mentioned it before, I don't mean to belabor the point, but being in the classroom, having a few college degrees in that arena, I feel like I can speak pretty authoritatively on the matter. And when you talk about government standards in education, Common Core on the surface sounds like a good thing. We've got standards and they all line up all across the country. But I believe in the autonomy of the state school board. I believe in the autonomy of the local school board to set curriculum. You think about the U.S. Department of Education, 1977, late 1970s created. And if you look at the data, our rankings nationally have dropped ever since then. We put a man on the moon teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. And, you know, I think that we stick to the basics. I'm not against having curriculum. I've sat on curriculum boards for agri-science education in the past and helped craft that, and I'm proud of that work. But curriculum and standards are totally different than a government mandate. If you look recently at the Alabama Literacy Act, one of those, we had some textbooks approved by the State Board of Education, put out in Tuscaloosa County, I know for a fact, I saw those, that had perverse sexual language in them. And you know, they went through the State Board, they went through the Alabama Literacy Act Oversight Committee, and it was the only approved textbooks on the list for second graders. Well, you know, as the parent of a second grader, that's very concerning to me that that got to the point that it did. Luckily, some additional texts were offered, but many systems had already bought them. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, most of you are like me when it comes to government overreach. You want to go to your job, you want to pay low taxes, you want to drive on a good road, and at the end of the day, you want the government to leave you alone, leave your children alone, and that's, thank you.
This keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. Do away with this Common Core blank. Bring back the McDuffie reader. That's what we need. We need a return to good, decent, moral education. Thank you.
Well, I'm certainly against the Common Core. What I'm for is school choice. I want the parents to be in charge of the direction of where their children are being taught. I'm not looking for some clown that can't figure out which bathroom to use. We need to have people that is on board with this and go back to kind of the basics like what we're talking about here, reading, writing, and arithmetic. This Common Core stuff is bad for us.
I support, of course, also school choice. I think that it drives us to be more competitive. One of the things that I like also that it allows the parents to have more options. I think that it allows the students also to be engaged more. I remember if you look at the statistics of this, it says that the average third grader that's not able to read and write has greater chances of going to prison. And who wants their children going to prison? The statistics are greater. You know, we can look at that as facts. But of course, again, I support. I froze up again. But I support school choice. Thank you.
Common Core is not working. Statistics says it's not working. Numbers says it's not working. And the employers say it's not working. Talking to the businesses that are hiring students being graduated out of high school right now in public education, it's not working. When they get on the job, they're bumfuzzled as to what to do. We're trying to ask questions about why you don't know multiplication. How come you can't read a tape measure? You don't understand a fraction. You can't string a sentence along. You don't have any self-initiative. You're told to sit down in the classroom and do what we tell you when we tell you. Well, people wonder why kids stand around and wait for somebody to tell them to sweep the floor at their job. Common Core is a situation where they want to teach what they want to teach in school. But the thing of it is like Brad mentioned, when you have a lady standing in a meeting and she's telling you that this material is in, she's got it with her. She's telling you it's in a second grade reading material. And she is asking how did it get to our school? And they say it's the only approved material that was submitted and we didn't have no choice. Well, we always have a choice. We can say no. And that's what needs to happen. It's got to change.
Our children are our future. Their education is vital. Having 5 children, having gone all the way through school now, I've seen it firsthand again and again and again, that you've got to be engaged in what they're learning. Parents have to take some responsibility. You have to know what your children are being taught. There are those with more liberal views that take a long game approach And they believe in starting early and trying to get in the schools early and indoctrinating our children with what they want them to think and what they want them to know versus what you want them to know. Being involved in their homework, being involved in their life, going to the school board's meetings and going to the open houses and having a knowledge and working relationship with the teachers is vital. Common Core should have never been brought to this state. Common Core should have never been adopted, should have never been there. But where that starts is parental involvement. You've got to know what they're trying to do to be able to stop what they're doing before they've done it. You know, you've got to be ready to vote on those for your school board of education and at the state level as well, that you know have the right values that you want your kids to have so that they can safeguard our children and what's about to come down the pipe. There are things that need to be able to be taught at home and those values being able to carry over into school without it causing conflict in what they're having to say is right for a test. And, you know, this district has some fantastic schools. And it's because y'all are involved. Thank you.
On to our third question. With state education trust fund money appropriated per student, should the money follow the child to a participating school of their choice?
I think so. There are opportunities. Each child is different. And I realize that some people are against any kind of private education. However, there are private education opportunities for children that would strengthen not only them, but our society as a whole. Now, I was very fortunate to go through public school from grade kindergarten all the way through 12th. At the time I graduated 12th grade in Big Oakman High School, I had the opportunity to go to Walker College, which at that time was private. And then, obviously, from that point, I got to go to Sanford University, which is also private. But getting back to the point, state education trust fund money, at that time, even way back then, because I went to a private school, they allotted us $500 to help out. I used that $500 along with my GI Bill, along with scholarships. And like my grandmother would say, I piecemealed the tuition together like a quilt. And I was able to walk out of college not having to owe a fortune. And I appreciated that. So we have an opportunity, especially with kids that have an extreme talent with math and science or STEM. We need them to go, oh, I'm going over.
Time, right there.
God bless you. Thank you.
I believe the fund should follow the child no matter where they go, complete their education all the way to the end.
Do we have to stand up? I feel really awkward, and I'm trying to get as comfortable as I can, if y'all don't mind. When I stand up and everybody's staring at me, I feel like I'm supposed to be preaching. But, so I want to try to sit down and answer that question. But I believe that it should follow the child. You have some children, all children don't want to go to college. Some children want to also, go take different trades. So I definitely think, yes, it should follow them to help them make the decision that they want to make and be able to use it wherever they want to use it.
I'm on stand, Floyd. So, one of the latter part of the question was to a school of their choice. Have you talked to people that are graduating high school lately? Have you talked to a 10th grader or 11th grader? People that are going to college. I've been in a classroom before with children, ask them, how many people's going to college? How many people in here is going to leave from school and go to college, go off to school? If there was a class of 50 kids sitting there, every one of them raised their hand. Every one of them. The reason they did that is because they didn't want anyone in there to think they couldn't get to college, couldn't get there. If the money that the state fund is going to give, yes, it should follow the children, but the children's got to be told, they've got to be advised. It should have parameters, but it should follow that student. There should be an allocation to that student. It brings me to vocational or technical schools. That is the push right now. That is where the trades are hungry. It's time to go to work. If you want to go to work, if you've got a young man, a young lady that is wanting to go into welding, want to go into mechanics, want to go into hydraulics, electronics, whatever they want to go into, it has never been a better time for them to get into these trades right now. That money has to follow them whether they go to a 4-year university or whether they go down here and learn how to work on your car, because we need them so bad right now.
I believe in school choice, and I believe that you ought to be able to take your tax money that you've paid if you happen to live in a community that has a failing school. That's so unfair to those families that pay the same amount of taxes that the others that are in better schools. If they're locked into that community, if they're not able to take that tax money that they paid and take their child to a better school, that would encourage competition between schools. It would make them have to do better, or they're going to end up closed, or not have enough kids or whatever. So education again is vital. Unfortunately, we all pay a lot in taxes. Those schools that have the kids there need that tax money to be able to educate. So I'm for school choice, and I'm for being able to take your money that you paid in taxes and take them to those schools. Thank you.
Well, absolutely, I agree that the money should follow the student. When you talk about school choice, we're very fortunate in this district. All of the schools in this district, to my knowledge, or the last time that I looked, either had a B or a C on the state report card. So that's encouraging. That means we've got strong families, good schools, good teachers in this district. But if my child lived in a failing school district in the inner city or wherever else that may be, I would want the opportunity to send my child somewhere where they could excel, whether that's a charter school or a private school or a Christian school. So absolutely, I would support. The answer to the question is yes, the money should follow the student. And kind of in that same vein, when you think about the number of students graduating college today is the same as it was in 50. I'd love to get to Montgomery and support career tech, workforce development. I did it for 7.5 years, something I'm extremely passionate about. Our students can graduate on Thursday and Friday and go to work on Monday. High-paid, high-skilled job, something I would love to work on in collaboration with my colleagues in Montgomery. Thank you.
On to our fourth question. Why are you running? What are your priorities once you are elected?
Well, that's pretty easy. I'm running because we're facing some pretty bad economic times. We're looking at the government takeover, government overreach. We're looking at a new world order. We're looking at new world currencies. We're looking at a new world religion. All of this stuff is affecting us right here in Alabama. And I just come by to tell you, your legislator is your #1 defense against this. Because we have a runaway federal government right now at the moment. And your legislators are the ones who's going to have to lift up the standard against it. And we have the power to do. Now, I checked before we come in here, and Alabama is still a sovereign state. And we have the right to make the rules for this state and protect our way of life here. Our conservative values, my dad's, like I said earlier, he's a pastor, baptized probably about 1,700 and something that's on our books. I'm not going to close down the #1 healing facility for the mind, body, and soul because some government out here wants a new world order. We are going to fight that, and that's what we're currently doing.
What was the question again?
The question was, why are you running? What are your priorities once you are elected?
Thank you. So my reason for running is, again, once I stated before, I believe that my diverse background and many obstacles that I've had, personal obstacles that I had to face in life, I truly believe that they uniquely work together and prepared me for this particular purpose, this particular position. I've got a great, I'm able to work with people real well. I truly understand that what we're up against right now, if you look at different news and media outlets, all this political propaganda is pretty much designed to turn us against one another. Every week you look at the news, it's something that's being said and being pushed out there to throw our focus off what's really important. Our children are being exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to at such a young age. We've got so many politicians going into office, and I think some people have the right intentions once they run and once they win. But I think once they get in there, they end up getting, like President Trump said, they end up becoming a part of the swamp. And so I truly believe that we need folks that are going to be the men and women of integrity, and I'm that person. Again, I'm good at working with people, bringing people together. I truly believe that we can go much further together than we can apart.
So I'll be brief so I don't get a time on this, but I don't know that I've been that brief all night, but I'm going to tell you the reason I'm running District 16. That's what I'm running for. Bring it to your doorstep. Bring it into your school. Bring it to your house. Because that's the questions I hear in the field. That's when I stopped with that old guy riding the lawnmower, and he says, "What you going to do?" Well, here's the thing. Everybody talks about what they're going to do. It sounds the same as it always has. It sounds as though we're going to help with taxes, we're going to help with this, we're going to help with that. Well, how do we really bring it to your doorstep? We go and we find out what it is that you need. How many people, though, has ever really had a conversation with a representative standing on their doorstep? The job that their son lost, the better industry that maybe can be brought in, whatever it might be. What about the agriculture? How many acres of crops is planted in Fayette County? Do you know? You see, the situation is this. When we start looking at it as a whole, how can we make it better? And what do we need to do that? We need to do something different than we ever have. What is the most valuable resource that we have in District 16, Alabama, or the nation? Our children. Promote our trades, make sure they have adequate education, make sure they have those things. It's so absolutely important to do that. When we get down to Montgomery, we're going to be in there with other people to talk about bills, law, sponsor this and that, be on the committee. We're going to be down there to do those things. But if we forget the people, if we forget to come to your house, then we're wrong. We're wrong.
Repeat the question one more time.
Why are you running? What are your priorities once you are elected?
This district is my home. This district is where I chose to raise my children. And this is where I, at this point in my life and in my career, feel like I need to serve. When Kyle South announced that he was stepping down, I thought about it, prayed about it, talked with my family about it, and decided that this is something that I had the time and the ability to do, and that I needed to give back to this district and this community that has helped me so much. As I said before, we have a wonderful district, and we deserve good leadership in Montgomery. We deserve good laws coming out of Montgomery. We don't want to be embarrassed in Montgomery. And being able to go down there as an attorney for 30 years, having been a judge for 23, I feel like I have some skills that I can contribute and I can help. I think that crime is a big issue in our state and in our district as well. Having been a judge for 23 years, I've learned you encourage what you tolerate. If you don't punish the crimes that are on the books, you get more of it. If you don't enforce what's there, you encourage them to break it even more. So I would focus on that. And of course, I've already mentioned children and our education. I would want to make sure that we continue to get the funding for education that we need to make sure that we have the very best education that we can provide our kids. But education doesn't always have to be about money. You can throw a lot of money at an issue. We've got to make sure we have accountability for those schools. And as Brad said, we do have very fine schools in our system, in our district. All the way across this district, we are blessed to have good schools. Very proud of the schools that my kids were able to attend and graduate from. But we also need to make sure that we...
I think that's a great question, and that's one I've been asked a lot as I've knocked on doors, as I've been by to different businesses. You know, I came here, I was 21 years old. I just graduated college. I came here, I got hired. I'd never been here before. And I got the job, I came here to teach, and this community took me in. This is home. We live here, we worship here, we work here. Our son goes to school here. You know, I'm running, you know, I think I have the professional abilities, the skill sets, being a banker and being a former public school teacher, you know, being on the county commission. I think I have the skill sets, the professional abilities to excel in this position, but I'm running because this is home, because I've got a family here, because I want to see this district grow, and I want to see folks in this district do well. This is home, and I want to represent you in Montgomery. What am I going to do when I get there? Well, you know, as a freshman legislator, there's no telling where we'll be on a committee or what we'll be serving in, but to answer the question simply, I want to get there, I want to go to work, I want to leverage the relationships that I have to bring back funding to this district. I want to work with my colleagues and other organizations to improve education, to improve infrastructure. I want to do what's right, and I want to get to work the first thing. That's what I plan to do when I get there. You know, I'm looking forward to serving, and I think that this district is absolutely worth fighting for. It's home. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
I can. Why are you running? What are your priorities once you are elected?
I'm running because I'm Greg Fanin, and I want to help District 16, each and every person. I have spent 2 years post-college as an economic developer for the 5th fastest growing county in America at that time. It was called Shelby County. I believe in workforce development. I've got some unique ideas on that. And the one thing I've mentioned to the mayor of Berry, I mentioned it to the mayor of Glen Allen, I mentioned it to the mayor of Fayette, I've mentioned it to several other people, and that is, this is Fayette County. I'm a good artist, aren't I? So this is Fayette County, and the main highway that runs through it right here obviously is 43 and 13. I believe, and I've always believed that Fayette County would be awesome if it had a world-class industrial park somewhere. Obviously, I-22 runs right along in here. Obviously, the industrial park needs to be on the north end of the county. That would not only help Fayette County, it would help Walker County, it would help Marion County, it would also help North Tuscaloosa County. When I finished Sanford, one of the first companies that I got to help, oh Lord, 30 seconds. Actually less. I helped DiGiorno Foods come to Shelby County, just inside, past the Galleria. If you go down past Blue Shield Parkway, look over your left shoulder, DiGiorno Foods is still there. If you go to Dollar General or any grocery store, you'll see the Dollar General DiGiorno pizzas are still in there. God bless you.
On to our 5th question, beginning with you, Mr. Rodgers. Would you commit to voting against recreational marijuana?
That is a simple question. Yes. They say that marijuana is not an addictive drug. I don't agree with that. I've been around people that was marijuana smokers. I've saw them and how they act and how they tend to crave for it. I've seen it destroy many households. They say it's safer than tobacco. That may be so, I'm not sure. I've never really did any research on that. But I don't believe that, I believe that we have a great mental health crisis already in our district, in our area, in rural areas all across Alabama. And I think when you bring something more and legalize it, it's going to make it even worse. Because we're already dealing with a drug epidemic. And so, of course, I would not. Sure.
To clarify your question, you said recreational, right?
That is correct.
Absolutely, I would be against the recreational use of marijuana. And I think one of my top reasons for that is this. The effect and the lasting effect that it has on the productivity of the folks that's got to go to work. Folks, y'all heard my the questions, you've heard my answers today. I'm a large proponent of people getting out and working, having a job, having that reward every day. And folks, it has a severe effect on whether a guy can climb iron, he can go up in an elevator shaft, he can get on a piece of equipment. And it's not a day or so. It takes a little while for this to fully flush from the system. So that's the reason. So yes, I'd be in opposition to that.
I'm absolutely against the recreational use of marijuana. As a judge, I see it in every court that I have. Possession of marijuana is a constant kind of case that we have in my court. These people come in and they say it's a gateway drug, right? Well, then it leads to other things and they end up in the court that Judge Junkin has with the circuit court. It's something that these people start on. They I guess do fall in love with it. I don't know whether it's addictive or not, but recreational use of marijuana, again, you encourage what you tolerate. If you start tolerating marijuana, you're going to get a lot more of it. Look at these states that have done this. Look where they've adopted it. Oregon, California, you know, they're not where you want to go anymore to visit. It ends up leading to more and more crime, and I'm absolutely against recreational use of marijuana.
Well, I'm going to echo what everyone else has already said. Absolutely against the use of any kind of recreational drug. You know, as a child, you know, I was adopted as a young teenager. Come from a family that had a lot of drug addiction issues. And, you know, I've never met a hardcore drug user that didn't start out using marijuana. So, short and sweet, no, I would not support the legalization of recreational use of any drug. Thank you.
I'm vehemently opposed to recreational use of skunk weed. It absolutely stinks. You can't go down the road in Birmingham anymore hardly without smelling it. It's awful. I think it's a dangerous drug. I have destroyed 18-wheeler tractor trailer truckloads of it. As I worked as an injured combat vet with a cast on my left leg, I was out in Arizona and only had a small stretch that I was over with 24 fellow soldiers that we gathered that stuff up coming across our southern border, which is just a wide open land. I'm kind of in a unique spot here tonight, though. I'm vehemently opposed to it. However, my opponent to my right has accepted funds from a group that wants recreational marijuana, and the person to my left also owns a place out here in Lamar County that wants to future process things like that. So I'm vehemently opposed, and I hope that they carry through with what they say they're going to do.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I am the largest cannabis processor in the state. Our group and our investors, we have a facility over in Vernon, Alabama. The investors have taken over that facility now. But I'm the reason that the legislators came to my plan and asked me about it on the third time that they were looking to legalize marijuana. And I told them exactly, if you legalize marijuana for recreational use, you're going to cause massive chaos down here. This is the Bible Belt, and that's not the way we need to do it. But I took my Bible off the shelf there and I said, in this book there are things that the Lord has put in this earth that man did not create, that is for the human body and for the wellness and for the healing of the body. Now, we produce CBD products over there. We don't produce marijuana products over there. But we do know that the marijuana and the CBD mixed together is the ultimate pain cream for these folks. Also in that Bible, I asked them, what are they going to do on the day of judgment when you are looking at Aunt Sue that has died of cancer, when you sat there and had the cure for cancer in your hand, but you used it as a political football and she has died. Now reckon what the Lord is going to say to you, because he made it, not you. What is he going to say? And then they asked me, what would my opinion be? And I said, your opinion would be for your physician to prescribe that to patients. You cannot legalize it and let it go just rampant. You need to let the physician be in charge of that, and that's why they passed it.
Well, since we have a bit of a unique situation here, before moving on to the next question, I would like to give Brad Cox the time to respond.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to take this campaign finance report of mine that Mr. Fanin printed off. His isn't quite as long as mine, but I would be glad to sit down and talk about any person on this list that I've taken a contribution from. 21 contributors, most of which on here are individuals. I think there's maybe 6 PACs on there that I've taken money from. I'm not ashamed of any PAC money I've taken. I've taken money from agricultural organizations, teacher organizations, organizations that, I align with their beliefs and their values. I have had the same conversation with every person I've taken a contribution from, and it's this. I'll be glad to consider taking your contribution, but I'm going to vote my conscience. I'm going to vote my district every time. And, at the end of the day, I have to lay down with the choice that I made. And again, I'll vote my conscience in my district. And, quite frankly, it's a little hypocritical, it's a little silly. I know myself, I know several other candidates on stage have solicited funds from others in Montgomery and in the district. So, I think that's a little pointed question, but I'll vote my conscience, I'll vote my district. If you know me, and most of you in this room do, I've never smoked marijuana, and you know that I'm opposed to the recreational use of marijuana. If you know me, you know that. Thank you.
Well, on to our 6th question then, beginning with Mr. Simpson. What are your views on a statewide lottery and expanding of legalized gambling in our state?
So I happened to be clerking for the judge that made a ruling on the gambling issue that skill should predominate chance. It was coming. The bingo was coming. A lot of folks in the rooms that on a daily basis, because let me tell you this, there's just a lot of money to be made. That's where it's at. It's a lot of money to be made. You can go over to Mississippi though, where it is, and you can go over and see what's there, and then take you a drive around those places. And you can drive around and see for your own self what it brings. Folks, I know that it does make a lot of money, but money ain't the answer for everything. Matter of fact, a man told me one time, he said, money will fix your problems. You don't have any problems. See, the problem of it is how many people are really going to say that we'll give our kids education paid for. Will it go for that? Is somebody going to guarantee that that's where it's going to go? I can show you some places where they voted in all kinds of things saying that the money was going to go to education and for the kids. Remember I told you, the most valuable resource we have. But ultimately it didn't get there. So the answer to the question is, I'd be in opposition.
I'm against gambling, I'm against gaming, I'm against the lottery. I've never bought a scratch off when I've gone to Florida. I don't care to do that. But I'm not running to be a judge that can order people to do this or that. I'm running to be a representative of this district. If there was a call for a vote on this issue, I would be in favor of the freedom to vote on this. And if that vote was to happen, my personal vote would be no. I don't know if Alabama's ready for this, but I believe that the people of the state and of this district ought to have the opportunity to vote. Thank you.
I think you're either for gambling or you're against gambling. It's not a maybe. There's not a middle ground. The current legislation that's before. We've been talking about a lottery since Don Sigelman was governor. And the current legislation, if we pass a lottery, that's going to allow table casino style gambling on Indian reservations. Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth. Drive across the state line to those communities that have full scale gaming. Go down to Greene County where they have the dog tracks, have legalized gambling. I don't see any improvements in those areas. We've pitched a lottery for years to help education. When this last year the legislature funded education $567 million more than they did the year before. We've got billions in surplus. Lottery's not for education. It's always pitched as that. When you look at, and the University of Arkansas has a really interesting study on this, the drug use, the prostitution, the in-kind, the other associated costs with gambling far outweigh the benefits. It's not a steady source of revenue. I'm opposed to a lottery or casino-style gambling. Thank you.
I too am absolutely opposed to lotteries and any kind of gambling. And again, it's always pitched as education, for education, but it's never a good thing. And you go across, and even though I'm the only non-preacher up here on the stage, except Mr. Brinyark, who sometimes fills in.
I filled in.
So, I have been in states where there is casino gambling. I've been in states, and I'm a well-traveled human being. And you know, I like to look, and their churches and their communities suffer so much. And people get addicted to it, and then they go to the church, and then they say, we can't make the pie. And then they want charity from the very church that they've robbed to go down to the casino to gamble money to. So I'm vehemently opposed to all forms of gambling. Thank you.
Well, I'm not a gambler, never have been. I'm an entertainer. Yeah, I've entertained in a lot of casinos. But I don't gamble. I don't believe it's really good for us. Just like everybody here is on this stage, we're all pretty much on the same page as that. But what's different here is I'm not your dictator. I believe that you should have the right to vote on that issue, and I believe we should have a clean bill on it if we're going to have to do that. There's a lot of revenue that is going across our state borders that we could be keeping here. But again, I'm not a dictator. If it were left up to me, gambling is useless in my book. I don't see it happening in any kind of way. But also, I'm not a dictator. It's your choice, and it's your right to have a vote on that measure.
I've seen firsthand what gambling does to families. I've had members of my family had gambling problems. So again, I've seen it firsthand, seen it bring a family all the way down. I used to live in Detroit, Michigan. I remember reading the story of what happened with Detroit, Michigan when they first built their casinos. The very first week that their casinos opened up, there was a police officer who had been going down there all week long, and he had gambled all of his lifetime savings, everything that him and his family worked for, gambled up everything. The man pulled his gun out of his holster and shot himself in front of everyone. And I remember reading about how it devastated, the wife and the children. And again, I've seen firsthand what gambling does, so of course I would definitely be opposed to any form of gambling, whether that's scratch-off, casinos, whatever the case might be. It's another form of addiction, and I'm against any kind of addiction. Thank you, Tom.
So we've made the full revolution, so this will be back to Mr. Brinyark. Alabama has a law which protects the unborn, thus disallowing abortion. Some are advocating that this law should be relaxed. What do you say?
I'm against abortion in every way. Life begins in conception. I don't believe that abortion should be allowed. I'm glad that Alabama has stepped up and done that. Some people say there ought to be exceptions to this or exceptions to that. If God creates it, then it's intended to be, and it ought to happen. But I'm against abortion in every form. Thank you.
I think the answer will be pretty well unanimous tonight, but obviously I'm pro-life, adopted myself. My son is adopted. I'm in the process of adopting a second child. I think pro-life is much more than just saying it. I think it's about supporting organizations, adoption. I believe it's about taking care of those children once they get here. I think that's our, as Christians, those of you that are, I think it's our biblical mandate to take care of those children and protect them. Again, I echo what Mr. Brinyark said. I believe life begins at conception, and I don't believe there's any mistakes. So 100% pro-life. I'm thankful Alabama had laws already in place when Roe v. Wade was overturned, so we can start shutting down these abortion clinics and limiting abortion in the state of Alabama. Thank you.
I too am pro-life. but I may have a little bit different understanding of that, in that I was in my cousin's wedding about 15, 16 years ago, and her and her husband married, and they immediately wanted to start a family. She's the same age as me, and so they immediately wanted to start a family. And Lisa has had numerous ectopic pregnancies. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about that, I'm sure a lot of you ladies know that an ectopic pregnancy will end in the death of the mother and the child. And some people say that that is an abortion. I say that is not. It's not a viable pregnancy. So I was at the Trump event Friday night. President Trump said this, and I will repeat it, and I agree with it. Life of the mother, rape, and incest, which is a form of rape. And I've been that way all my life, and I will be that way till the day I die. Pro-life. But there are times when we need to look at the situation with care and concern. Because I stood there and watched my cousin cry many times because of that pregnancy. Thank you.
Well, that is our stand on abortion. We believe that it's murder, certainly, but we do believe that the mother of the child that's in danger, that there ought to be an exception for that. But in all, abortion is murder.
Just to echo on what pretty much everyone on the stage has said, I am pro-life, I am pro-family. I believe also that life starts at conception. I truly believe that if we don't, and I'm proud to be from the great state of Alabama, because when you look at some of these other states that are doing all of this evil and left-wing things, it's just getting out of hand. So again, I'm proud to be from the great state of Alabama, where we are against abortion. And I truly believe that if we don't continue to stand up for such a very, that's the most vulnerable form of life that you can possibly have. So I believe that if we don't continue to stand up for that, I think that we are one step closer to lawlessness, and we'll get to the point that we don't even value life anymore. So of course, yes, I am against abortion.
100% pro-life, but an advocate for the education and the responsibility of the individual. And I believe that if that is promoted, that they understand that there is alternatives in every aspect. As far as supporting Alabama's laws that they have in place right now, those laws already protect the mother if there's a medical emergency. Those laws are already in place, and support them in every kind of way.
This next question will be our last question, starting with Mr. Cox. The Alabama legislature has passed legislation that protects minor children against medical mutilation, i.e. gender altercation. What is your position on sex change procedures?
Well, thank you for the question. I kind of expected maybe something along those lines tonight. As far as, allowing a minor, someone under the age of 18, a child to mutilate their body by allowing a child to mutilate their body. A 10, 12-year-old child doesn't know, they don't have the knowledge or the cognitive ability at that point in their life to make that decision. I think a parent that would allow their child to do that should quite frankly be put in jail for child endangerment. I think it's something that's hip and in vogue now, it's in mainstream media, but absolutely would support legislation to not allow parents to let their children go through with such an operation. That's a major decision for a child to make, and the whole deal in its entirety is, quite frankly, to me, is insanity. So that's where I'm at on that. Thank you.
I like your last word there, insanity. I think it's insane that a parent would encourage their child to get a sex change. I never thought during the course of my lifetime I would see what we're seeing in the woke world today. It is unbelievable. I do not, I would support a law that outlaws parents signing for children to have this elective surgery. Thank you.
Well, when President Trump becomes our president again in 24, we are already going to ban it in all 50 states. This child, I just cannot believe that we are even discussing this, and that we have to discuss this to make laws to mutilate a child. But we are standing firm, and in all 50 states, it will be banned.
I think it's also insane to even take something like that in consideration. You look at the age limit, the age requirements that it requires for you, an individual to buy alcohol. Then look at the age requirements of an individual to purchase tobacco. But to take something like this in consideration, again, is absolutely insane, and it shows the spiritual warfare that we are up against. I just want to share with y'all real quick, proud father moment. I remember when we were potty training my son. He was probably about 1 year old, and I remember my wife trying to get him to sit down on the potty. And I remember him telling my wife, he said, "No, I do not want to sit down." He said, "I want to pee like my daddy." That was a proud moment for me. And I said that to say this though, that family is important, faith is important. Kids pick up on what they see in their household. And again, this is a spiritual warfare issue, and these are things that we definitely need to be praying about. You got people out here who are taking these type things into consideration. So, again, thank you.
So, absolutely against any alterations, any transgender, taking the natural and making it something else. It's so funny how everybody jumps on the science bandwagon. We're going to follow the science. Well, science is nothing more than evidence of the natural. That's what science is. And natural is something that doesn't have anything that is man-made. In other words, if man has done something to make it, it is not natural anymore. So when you have these things, shouldn't it be the child's choice, or shouldn't it be the person's choice, should I say? Because instead of Alabama, the majority age is 19 years old. They're not recognized until then. Even at 16 years old, we require that consensual age for them to consent to acts in the same nature of sex. So we're talking about people making decisions that's going to be lifelong and follow them the rest of their life. But you know, when they get up 20 years old and they start choosing, we live in a place where you can do these things, but if he's a child, if she's a child, if those are the things that we're doing, absolutely nobody has that say. It's an individual. They live in a free country. They can do as they wish after they get old enough to make those decisions on their own. If those decisions are made in a court case or anything, the judge is going to appoint a GAL for a minor, which is a guardian ad litem, which is somebody that's going to represent their legal interest in those things. They're going to be appointed. Why? Because the child can't make the decision. Consider that. Thank you.
Sometimes it's hard to go last. Little bits and pieces of each one of these answers would be incorporated in my answer, especially Mike being an attorney. Some of the things that he was saying there about the age limits in Alabama to be able to not be considered a child. You've got to be, the age of majority is 19. Our state says that children can't make decisions. They aren't capable, they're not mature enough to make serious decisions. They can't even buy a car until they're 19. So the thought that they should be able to, at a younger age, be able to make such decisions as this, to do this to themselves, I would definitely be in support of legislation that prevented the mutilization of these children at these younger ages. I thank you all again for being here tonight. I thank you all for coming out and listening to us. You've heard a lot of common threads. Well, we are all Republicans. We are all conservatives. I thank you for coming out here and showing the interest. The main thing we need from you now is to show up at the polls and to vote for the candidate that you like and that you heard something that you can get behind and that represents the values of District 16. Thank you very much.
With all of our questions answered here, what I'd like to do next is give each of our candidates a minute, 30 seconds for a closing statement. I know for our opening statement, since Mr. Simpson went first, Mr. Brinyark, you will go first this time.
Again, thank you for being here. I'm Brian Brinyark. This district is my home. I value our values. I value what we are all here for. I want to serve. I'm at a point in my life and in my career that I can do this. I would never have dreamed when my kids were going through the schools and playing ball, and I coached them all for 15 years and did all those things, being a part of their lives. There was no way I would have considered doing this, but now I'm at a point in my life that I'm ready to give back. I'm not having to grade or do homework anymore. I'm not having to coach in the evenings anymore. I'm sitting there watching TV and realizing I need to do more. And this district deserves good representation. I think that I could do that day one. I do think I can bring a unique skill set to this position and be a member that you could be proud of, a member of the House. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure to be here tonight, and certainly I want to thank each and every family, each and every person that's made the effort to come out tonight. If you're here, this election is important to you. It was alluded to earlier, this election, this turnout will be very low, and you know, I think it's imperative that each and every one of you get out to vote. And again, you know, we've all said a lot of things. There's been a lot of questions answered tonight. But, you know, at the end of the day, the choice is yours. And I would love to be your choice. I think I have the professional experience. I think I have the skill set. I think I have the connections and the networking all across this state to be an effective legislator for this district. You know, at the end of the day, I want to represent this district with honesty and integrity, professionalism, represent you in a manner you deserve to be represented in. I would appreciate your vote and support on September 26th. I'll be around as long as I need to be after this is over to answer any questions that may not have been asked. And if I've not already seen you, I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Thank you.
I'm Greg Fanin. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like Mr. Brinyark, my daughters are grown. My 17-year-old is school shopping right now. So we're visiting schools. So I serve on the Coal Mine Commission. One thing that I wasn't able to bring out, one point that I wasn't able to bring out, and I want to bring it out now, is our energy. Each and every one of us has noticed an astronomical climb in our energy, our power bill. And one thing that I'm working on vehemently each and every day is to try to get our coal mine open back in Berry, because that's steam coal. And if we can produce steam coal here, which will bring 450 more jobs to our county, if we can produce steam coal here, we can lower the power bill from everybody from TVA all the way down to the coastal plain by about $50, $60, $70 per month. That's a lot of families, folks, across the whole state of Alabama. I appreciate, again, the opportunity. I'll be around afterwards in the lobby. Love to answer each and every question that you have and talk with each and every one of you. God bless you.
Well, I'm going to continue on what we were already doing before we found out that the seat was even open. And that was banned in China. That's these CBD currencies. There's a lot of drug trafficking coming into Mobile Bay, human trafficking coming in there, stuff we didn't even touch about tonight. But I'm going to continue doing that, office or no office. We're going to continue to do this to protect our values and our way of life right here. We are being assaulted, and it is very serious, and it's right up on our doorstep. And we're going to continue to do those things. We've had the experience to do so, 12 years of experience in this same office previously with a legislator. So we want to put that experience to work and take it to the next level. I'm Greg Lowery, State Representative, District 16.
I want to first of all thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, Todd. Thank y'all for allowing me to sit down. I feel much better sitting down. Still super nervous. But at the same time, I want to commend each gentleman up here because this is not easy. Sitting in front of a crowd, standing in front of a crowd, having a forum. But when you look back through the Word of God, you've never seen anything get done, individuals sitting around in their comfort zones. And I thank you guys for getting out of your comfort zone, for coming out here. Thank you guys. You guys are inspirational to me, just for being up here. I look forward to going to Montgomery working for you. I'm a man of honesty and integrity. I truly understand the value of building relationships and collaborating. And I believe that me going down to Montgomery, I can be able to go down there, collect the resources that we need to bring them back, form the relationships that we need to form, the collaboration that we need to be able to draw more business here, and to focus on a better quality of life and economic development. I am thankful for you guys, again, for allowing me. Again, my name is Floyd Rodgers Jr., and I need your support. I need your vote. Most importantly, I need your prayers. Thank you again.
Well, just in closing, you know, there wasn't too long ago that everybody was against our police. Let's shut them down. It'll be better if we don't have any. It'll be better if we limit them. Folks, what we really ought to do is shake their hand, every one of them. Our fire department's understaffed, under-resourced, but yet when we were in a wreck, you're holding a rag on a little boy's head. That sure is a beautiful sound to hear that 1970 model crank up and turn the sirens on. I wish they had a little later model. But them old boys that get out of bed, and young ladies that are in these volunteer positions, we got to support them. We got to support where we come from. District 16 is this. It's the epitome of small town. And folks, I'm glad to be from a small town. You know, old boys catching a lot of flack from writing a song about try that in a small town. But ain't it wonderful to live somewhere where anybody would walk up if somebody was trying to take an old lady's purse, amen? Anybody would walk up. But it's getting to be in other places where that ain't so. They'll walk by. Man on the side of the road in the rain changing his tire. It's getting to be where he has to do it by himself. And it used to be why there'd be 3 people stop and one hold the towel over him while somebody else would turn the wrench. Folks, if we could just get back to that, I don't know what we'd each one give, but we each one got to give something. Because we're going to lose it unless we preserve it. Send me to Montgomery. I'll promise you that I'll do what I can to keep that bad law out of here and preserve small town America. District 16 is important to each and every household and each and every person here. Thank y'all tonight for being here.
Well, Dr. John is going to close us out. Before we do that, can we get a round of applause for our 6 candidates up here?